BBL 851, turn right, heading 180. Order 14 Papa, turn right 245, report localizer established 27.
Before I begin, I've recently started a brand new Discord server. You're welcome to join. All the join information is on your screen, the first line of the description, and also the pinned comment. I'll be in there chatting to you all, and I hope to see you there. The Boeing 757, a true workhorse of the aviation industry and one that's outlived many other types. Why though did Boeing make the plunge and make the jet many decades ago? Especially with an aircraft like the Boeing 737 and even the 727, which are perfectly fine within their fleet portfolio. Well, the 737 is going to be a huge focus for the analysis today. Heading back to the roots of the channel, if you'd like to see more of these sorts of videos, please do let me know. The Boeing 737 and Boeing 757 both contributed to each other's successes and also the downfall at the very same time of the 757. It's an odd concept, but one that is indeed very valid. The Boeing 757 is nothing like the 737 though, that is something I should mention from the offing. But when it was built, many hailed it to be the successor to the 737 series, which, early days, was actually struggling to really accumulate any sort of firm interest, that risked the program being shut down. Now though, we can say that this is quite the opposite, with the 737 today sitting in 2021 as one of the most successful narrow-body aircraft to date. It's one of the most noticeable, it's one you can see all around the world, and it's one that pretty much you, me, and I would believe anyone watching this video that has been on board an aircraft will have likely flown on. Back though in the 1900s, Boeing explored designs for their 737 aircraft, prior to its original conception. These designs and concepts, should I add, had rear-mounted engines, similar to the likes of the 717. Moving inside the cabin, that layout was all crucial, with the concept having a 5-abreast seating. People encouraged though the 737 to have a 6-abreast seating, which is your 3-3 configuration, and now the typical narrow-body configuration for seating on short-haul services, and your smaller aircraft within Airbus and Boeing's portfolio. However, that's where the 727 came into the scene, with that very similar concept. From there in the late 1970s and stretching into the 1980s, the Boeing 757, as we know it today, was designed strictly to be the 727's replacement. Now, the Boeing 727 has 3 engines and therefore burned a lot more fuel than the 757. The 757's conception would allow the aircraft to burn a third less fuel to the 727, while also carrying more passengers, and having many more benefits that you'd expect any replacement within the aviation industry to have. Even if this Boeing 757 did look a tad different to the Boeing 727 aircraft. With the improved engines, the aircraft was also able to fly longer distances than that of the 727, and it ultimately became the go-to aircraft. You might ask why the Boeing 757 was needed when Boeing had another aircraft known as the 737. Aviation forums have always discussed stretching the 737 to make it longer. By stretching the aircraft, the need for a 757 simply wouldn't be there, as the new 737 would cover it. The problem though is that stretching the 737 like that to replicate the length of the 757, which has been known as the flying pencil for a reason, isn't possible. This comes directly due to the low wings and the shape of the engines that were used at the time where we saw the 757's conception, the 727's existence, and of course, the original 737s. They focused more on the length than the width of the engine, and therefore at the time they were too close to the ground. To stretch the 737 would mean the aircraft would have to undergo a complete redesign, and with that, at that point, the incredible costs, as you can probably imagine that would amount, would simply be useless. The best course of action would be just make an entirely new aircraft from scratch. We're seeing that already take place with the Boeing NMA. While they could make a new 737 MAX, and while that is certainly being discussed, or they could make a 757X, say use the existing 757 body, it's easiest to build an aircraft in between there. Now, of course, the pandemic has thrown plans off for an NMA a bit. However, if we do see it in the future, they'll likely go for that aspect and then build upon that, rather than going for a pre-existing body type that is dated back 30 or 40 years. Ultimately, though, at the time the Boeing 757 was built, it was solely seen as a replacement for the 727, not as a 737 replacement that you heard me mention right at the start of this video, which at the time was struggling to really receive any type of attention. Fuselages and also efficiency also played a part in the creation of the 757. The Boeing 757 still flies today in 2021, albeit not in the biggest capacity. However, it is still very present, and while it is seeing continued retirements, it's truly a workhorse of the industry. And thanks to its come up and its looks, and of course its history that dates back quite a while, it's widely appreciated and will continue to be widely appreciated decades into the future, even when it's not around at all. What are your thoughts on the Boeing 757? Let me know down below. Please do take care, be safe, and stay tuned for more content like this rolling out on the channel in the coming weeks.